The SAS assault teams were kitted out in body armor, fireproof coveralls, respirators, plus because the assault had been planned for a stealthy approach, they wore trainers instead of the more commonly worn army boots.
All right, y'all, welcome to the Coming to Our channel. Okay, so we're checking out something that was recommended to me a lot. Something that I haven't checked out because I never found a good video for it, but I guess there was one that was uploaded about 11 months ago, and this seems to cover the topic pretty well. So this is about the SAS raiding a prison in 1987. So as far as I know with the prison, it was a prison in Scotland. It's kind of like a pretty rough prison. I think it was called like the Hate Factory or something, like its nickname. But the conditions were like really rough, kind of like unsanitary. And I guess like this prison also had a history of riots before all of this happened. But yeah, I guess they rioted, took the warden hostage or something, maybe took a couple of hostages and threatened to set someone on fire at one point. So that's as far as I know right now. But this video is about 13 minutes long. Looks like it covers a few different things. Got an intro, background, talks about the riots, talks about the SAS, and then kind of goes into the court cases as well. So it looks like it's pretty comprehensive for this topic. And I'm excited because I know you guys have mentioned this one a lot. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Have you ever wondered what a SAS raid against a Scottish prison housing some of the most violent criminals in the country would look like?
Oh, snap the
One
footage
man's life
too.
was in serious jeopardy as he became a prisoner in his own workplace, held captive by rioting prisoners.
I kind of wonder what like the public outcry looked like when all this happened. I mean, when the SAS are getting activated, that's kind of a big deal. And at this point, 1987, so a few years after the Iranian embassy siege, people knew about the SAS at this point. So I'm sure it made some pretty big headlines. But I kind of wonder what the consensus was, because it didn't sound like this prison was too great. I mean, I know these guys are in there for a reason, but I kind of wonder what the consensus was after the fact, kind of with, you know, the attention these guys were bringing the prison.
This is the story of the Peterhead prison riot.
Damn, okay. Hype intro. Definitely feel free to hit that subscribe button as well.
Of the prison itself, the riot as it took place, and the equipment that the SAS used. Peterhead Prison, where there was a long-running violent war between inmates and staff, was an obvious location for an outbreak of violence amongst the prisoners. It was not called the Hate Factory for nothing.
Oh, that's an interesting location, huh?
The prisoners. It was not called the
I mean, at least it's
Hate
kind of by the
Factory for
water,
nothing.
so must have like a
prison
pretty
was built in 1888.
cool view.
It was designed
maybe?
to hold 208 prisoners and to be Scotland's only convict prison for prisoners sentenced to hard labour.
Oh, damn.
However, occupancy often averaged around 350, peaking at 455 prisoners in 1911.
Dude, isn't that
That's
like more
over
than double?
the capacity?
That's crazy.
Until the opening of the prison, Scottish convicts were transported to England to serve their sentences, but the first convicts were received in August of 1888. Peterhead
Damn, that's
supplied the
old.
labour force to work at Stirling Hill Quarry and in the Admiralty Yard attached to the prison. These convicts supported the work of a civilian labour force employed by the Admiralty to construct a harbour of refuge. Their role involved breaking up the rocks to be used in creating the breakwater. This was
Oh my gosh, so it's like when you actually see the prisoners who have like pickaxes and they're just breaking rocks into smaller rocks. I mean, I guess I had like a basis in truth, understandably, but it's kind of interesting to hear where that was happening, I guess.
seriously hard labour. in
And what
the
they were
often
doing with the
cold
rocks.
and miserable far northeast of Scotland.
Yeah, that
Years
was
of
far
violence
north.
and counter-violence had destroyed morale and any relationship between the detained and their detainers. It was a bit like a volcano, and the pressure was building. It wasn't just one issue that triggered the events that were going to follow.
What
It
is
was
going
like
on
a
here?
collective attack of what the police often called going berserk. It was a cold morning
You can get like a clip that took you out of the video a little bit less.
on the 2nd of October 1987. Without warning, the prisoners started tearing the place apart. Remember that these
Jeez.
prisoners were often sent to Peterhead as they had already been disruptive at other prisons. They seized control of D Block and worked out their hatred of the prison and their jailers in an orgy of destruction.
I mean, if you're destroying the toilets, you're kind of only hurting yourself at that point. But I guess at this point, these guys didn't really
D-Block
care.
and worked out their hatred of the prison and their jailers in an orgy of destruction. One of the leading figures in the violence was Sammy the Bear Ralston, an armed robber who had caused trouble in many Scottish and English prisons over the years. He was a man to be feared. Then there was Malcolm Leggett. He was in for murder, and he had also stabbed a prison guard in the leg and thrown hot fat over another. Then we have Douglas Mathewson. He was in prison for murdering a beauty queen. These men would become the ringleaders of the Peterhead prison riot.
Yeah,
and
definitely
they would be
some
going
trashy
face-to-face
individuals
with the elite British SAS. This hardcore of convicts had a strong card to play as they resisted surrender. They had taken a prison officer hostage. They retreated into the area of a roof space of the old prison and created barricades and booby traps all around. They used burning bedding, bedpans, and anything else they could find to keep the guards at bay. Their lair was like a medieval castle under siege, with a wall of debris and wreckage acting like a moat.
Oh, damn.
All sorts of debris and slates were hurled down on prison officers who tried to get near them. The hostage was veteran prison officer Jackie Stewart, who at 56 years old at the time of the riot, was no doubt looking forward to a pleasant retirement in rural.
I'm wondering what the booby traps look like. I mean, it seems like they were kind of just using like obstacles to keep the guards at bay, like whether it be debris and whatnot. But they say booby traps. That seems like a very specific thing. I'm just picturing like Home Alone now, where they just have like paint cans wired up.
56 years old at the time of the riot, was no doubt looking forward to a pleasant retirement in rural Aberdeenshire. The prison officer recalls the inmate trying to stab a fellow guard, which is when Jackie rushed to his aid. Despite managing to fight the knife off of him, various other prisoners had joined in, leaving Jackie in a very vulnerable position. He was now their prisoner. He still recalls the frightening ordeal that led to his life flashing before his very eyes. Jackie said, "At that moment, I realized my life was in serious danger. When they took me up onto the roof, I realized that I'd been stabbed and my body was out of action.
Damn.
I think that's why I didn't feel anything. I was screaming out, trying to make them stop, but I had no control. I felt as though I was floating above the ground." As the inmates forced Jackie up onto the roof of the prison, he discovered he'd actually been stabbed numerous times in his arms, as well as in his kidney area. Being a prison officer at Peterhead was no easy task. Throughout his 125-year existence, Peterhead Prison had a reputation as one of Scotland's most notorious jails.
He's 56, so I wonder how long he was actually working there. I think they said veteran, so he's probably been there and done that and kind of been exposed to a lot of this crazy stuff. But yeah, with this kind of reputation, it'd be kind of hard to, hire any guards to stay for any long period of time.
The Hate Factory, it housed some of the country's most violent offenders, including serial killer Peter Tobin and gangster
Looks like a
Paul
serial
Ferris. Killer. At 35 years old, Jackie qualified as a new recruit into the prison service just in the nick of time, as back in the 1960s, that age was the maximum at which you were allowed to apply. His basic wage on starting was a mere £12 a week. To try and make a difference to his family income, Jackie would often work double shifts from 6 in the morning through to 9:30 at night, which saw him finally bringing in a reasonable wage. From doing these back-to-back shifts, Jackie soon realized he was in no place for the faint-hearted. During his ordeal, Jackie was subjected to some of the worst incidences of rioting and assault. He had developed a reputation himself for discipline beyond expectations, and this led to his own nickname of Hess, and to the saying, "Don't mess with Hess." No doubt the prisoners now thought they would be getting even with Jackie. Jackie was paraded on the roof at Peterhead Prison. He had lighter fuel stuffed into his pockets, and prisoners threatened to set him alight. Prisoner Malcolm Leggett was the one who held Jackie on the roof for a period of 5 days. In this time, he enjoyed
5 days. I hope they were like giving him some food or something. I'd be freaking starving. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those roofs are pretty freaking tall, and I was thinking, maybe you can kind of just like, I know they had like a chain around his neck or something at one point, but I would try and like just run and parkour my way down. But I don't know what the situation kind of looked like on the ground if they had, police. I'd imagine they kind of had police like surrounding the place at this point, but yeah, I'm not going to be jumping off of a roof that tall.
Beatings as he was manhandled, punched, kicked, and hit with broken furniture. Jackie said, "Leggett removed my bootlaces and threatened to tie my hands with them. I was no longer in my uniform as I was forced to wear prisoner's clothes. I assured him I wasn't going to be any trouble, and I think perhaps that's what saved my life." Jackie described the pain he was in. He says the stabbings, the beatings, combined with a lack of sleep, left me feeling really stressed, weak and disorientated. There was
Yeah,
another
understandable.
complication though. Jackie only had one kidney and he needed daily medical attention
no
and
kidding.
drugs. The authorities had to get him to safety and they had to do it urgently. Scottish
damn,
politicians and the men at the top of the Scottish
That definitely
prison
raises the
service
stakes.
were under pressure from public opinion to bring the outrage to an end and to ensure there were no deaths. They turned
I wonder. Oh, okay. I was about to say, I wonder like how they made the call to send the SAS in, and it's moving to that point right now. So I'm pretty hyped to see how they made that call. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the police force looked like at that point. You know how equipped they were to handle this kind of riot and stuff. And of course, comparing British police in general to like American police is always going to be kind of harder for me. Even though I went to England, I still don't understand, their kind of capabilities for this kind of stuff, especially back in the day.
to London and a prime minister who was not the type to pussyfoot around. Margaret Thatcher, Malcolm Rifkin, and Douglas Hurd gave the go-ahead for the SAS to intervene.
Damn.
Sending in UK special forces to deal with a domestic criminal situation would set a dangerous precedent, and several
It's the ace
politicians
card
were
right there.
against it. At first, an SAS officer was sent to Peterhead in a purely advisory role. As the stalemate ensued at the prison, the call was eventually put out to send in the SAS
He's
to
like,
rescue Jackie Stewart.
Yeah, my boys need some
20
fun.
men
So
from the on-call
send
anti-terrorism
it.
team travelled from Hereford, their SAS headquarters. Then they flew from RAF Lynham in a C-130 up to Aberdeen.
Ooh, damn. Okay. Random hype music. I know obviously this wouldn't be documented, but it would be so awesome to kind of hear the discussions that's being had, and also just like the preparation, because again, it is to the SAS. They're not gonna like pussyfoot around it or just get complacent with the preparation. But the conversations that they must be having on that C-130 as they're flying out must be awesome to hear. I wonder if that was the actual, well, maybe not. I was wondering if that was the actual one that they used. Well, I'm not sure actually. It doesn't. Yeah, okay. The footage doesn't look that old. That's so cool. I like the B-roll footage they got, except for that weird
Once
shot
they
with
arrived,
that
they were
creepy
then driven
mask.
under police escort to Peterhead Prison, where they set up ready for the assault. The SAS
Golly,
assault
it's
teams
so
were kitted
aesthetic.
out in body armor, fireproof coveralls, respirators, plus because the assault had been planned for a stealthy approach, they wore trainers instead of the more commonly worn army boots. Their primary
No
weapon
kidding.
was a wooden baton, but they also carried 9mm Brownings as backups. Each team
Nice,
also carried
okay.
flashbangs and tear gas canisters. And this is one of the hickory sticks used during the riot. In the right
Ooh, I wonder where this museum is. This would be so cool to check out. I like how they have trainers and then just like, we'll bring some flashbangs if we need them.
hands, this was a ferocious weapon. The plan was to hit the prison from all sides simultaneously, causing mass panic and confusion amongst the prisoners. While a rescue team entered from the roof,
Always a good
this is
strat.
where the hostage was located, and they would enter via a hole the prisoners had made themselves. At 5 a.m., 6 SAS men snuck across the prison roof. At that moment, on each of the 3 floors of D-Wing, an SAS team blew their way in with explosives, hurling in CS gas and stun grenades before
Nice.
rushing in to clear the cells.
Oh, dude. Yeah, especially like they got the gas mask. Like they used them before during the Iranian embassy siege, obviously. But like, yeah, throwing the CS gas and then kind of going into that haze. Man, that must have been such a vibe.
Above them, the 6-man rescue team threw stun grenades and CSS grenades through the hole in the roof. Then they quickly jumped down into the rafters and secured the hostage, who was
Hell
in
yeah,
shock,
dude.
but he was unharmed. The prisoners had been too stunned by the force and the speed of the SS assault to put up any sort of resistance. In a
Nice.
short time, less than 6 minutes, the prison authorities came in and reclaimed the building and took charge of the inmates, while the SAS melted away into the shadows.
Damn, I wish they had footage, man. That'd be sick
Now
to
it
see.
appears
Or
the
even
SAS have
pictures.
been pretty heavy-handed in the execution of their mission, and multiple court cases followed the events at Peterhead Prison. The court report reads as follows.
They went too ham.
SAS soldier who took part in an operation to end a jail siege in which 2 prison officers were held hostage denied setting out to teach the inmates a lesson. The soldier, identified only as Soldier T, said it was not true, that his attitude was, whatever you do with the prison warders, you don't make a monkey of the SAS. He was being cross-examined by Lionel Dachus, QC, on the third day of a £30,000 damages claim by prisoner John Devine. Mr. Devine claims that he was illegally and severely beaten by the SAS soldiers when they ended the siege at Peterhead Prison in October 1987.
Play stupid
Soldier
games.
T told the court he was trained to deal with counter-terrorism incidents and in particular the release of hostages. When they were given the order to go, they dropped in 2 flashbangs through the hatch. Soldier T entered first.
Cool.
It was dark inside, but he had a torch. He says, as I entered the attic space, I came across the prison warder. I moved towards him and checked he was okay, and passed him to the man behind me. Almost instantly, he saw one of the prisoners running towards him, apparently with a knife. He goes on to say, I moved towards him and struck his forearm with my baton. I then struck up towards his face. The first blow was to disarm him, and the second was to enable me to move closer, to grab him, and to put him off balance. He was then turned around and pushed towards what I thought was a wall, but there was actually a hole in the floor. Soldier T denied striking the prisoner about the head at any other stage, and he said the prisoner was not thrown 12 feet from the attic to the gallery below deliberately. The soldier also denied saying or hearing his colleague say to the prisoner, you're going for a spin now, pal. Later, prison nursing officer Alistair Much told the court that he had found 11 wounds on Devine's head at the end of the siege.
From the fall.
So there we have it, the infamous Peterhead prison
Golly.
siege. What do you think? Did the SAS have every reason to be heavy-handed? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and don't forget to like the video.
I mean, the SAS, they're going to be heavy-handed. That's why you call them the SAS.
Coming your way. Until next time.
Nice. Okay. That was pretty much everything I needed from a video kind of covering this. Like, they gave us all the info and some of like the interesting stuff that happened after the fact with those court cases. All right, you guys already know I kind of love the aesthetics of the 1980s SAS. I mean, I think everybody does. When they think of the SAS, you know, you're going to kind of think of that iconic image from the Iranian embassy siege. But having another example from the 1980s of these guys kind of doing their thing is always cool to check out. But again, I wish we did have some footage or some pictures of these guys actually storming the prison, because that would have been pretty freaking cool to check out. But if you guys do have any footage or any pictures that you have found, or maybe like some news coverage, definitely send it my way so I can check it out, because that'd be really cool. But this video did a really solid job kind of covering this. Again, it was definitely something that I wanted to learn a little bit more about, because you guys have sent this to me pretty much since I first started covering the SAS, or even just like, you know, British forces. So I appreciate one of y'all sending this my way. So I'll put the original video in the description if you guys want to go and check it out. But this was definitely a cool one. If you have any other interesting videos for like the SAS or other special forces doing some kind of maybe like less than conventional kind of raids. I mean, with the SAS, they're kind of like the jack of all trades. But it's having like some other special forces units doing some operations like this, definitely send that my way so we can all check it out together. Because yeah, it's not often that you hear about certain things like this. When you kind of think of the SAS, there's certain things that you think of, and this might be a little bit more low key for people who aren't, you know, from the UK. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting the channel. But that is it for this one. I'll see you on the next one.